I was at the end of my lease, a 3-year lease, and could not find a suitable place to go and rent to. And considering how the housing is in Asheville, it was very hard to find a place that was comparable and keep my kids in the same school district. And above all, it was right at Christmas time. So it was just a real nightmare. It's not just a matter of not having enough money to pay a monthly rent fee. There is no places to rent. It is just very difficult. And then trying to get something comparable with 2 children is pretty much impossible these days in Asheville.
Affordable housing is a concern in Buncombe County, and from what I've read from a lot of the legal journals, it's a concern all over Western North Carolina. But affordable housing can definitely be seen when we're dealing with our cases and folks that just can't afford their rent. And the rents go up, and they could afford it to begin with, but then as the rent goes up, they can't seem to afford to stay in the same home. Something that the court would love to see pro se litigants understand, and it's a long list of things to understand before they come to court, is they need to know the local rules. There are actual local civil rules that need to be complied with in order to come into the courtroom. They need to know the rules of evidence. How are they going to authenticate a document? How are they going to actually produce that document so that the court can look at it? A picture. They always try to submit affidavits. They have to have their witness here to testify. Actually understanding that I need to show the judge evidence, but understanding how to get it to the judge are 2 different things. You may have a phone call that you want to play for the judge. How are you going to play that? You got to know how you're going to get that evidence in so the judge can look at it. There may be a lot of evidence in a case, but if you don't know how to present it to the court will never see it. So those things really need to be known, but it's rare that you find a litigant that represents themselves that can know all of those things. That's why having a lawyer in court is always preferable.
When somebody's getting evicted, the amount of time can vary widely as to how much time they have to get out. If you don't use your appeal rights, you have roughly 17 days from the day you go to court before the sheriff's coming to lock you out. When there is very little available housing, it encourages tenants to stay in housing that has habitability issues, because where are they going to go that's going to be better that they can afford? Fecal matter in the yard from burst pipes, holes in roofs. I've seen a tarp as a roof, wiring that would shock the conscience.
I think housing is a critical unit for stability, and in all of the courts where I preside, it becomes an underlying factual issue, because if you don't have a stable home, you don't have a stable environment, then you can't co-parent in a custody situation. One of the definitions of neglect in our abuse, neglect, and dependency cases is an environment injurious or detrimental to the welfare of the child. And so it is frequently a challenge for us, if someone doesn't have housing, to be able to grant them visitation rights, to be able to let the child stay in their home. And if the conditions are not safe, it can end up in a removal situation.
How can a kid be a good student if the sheriff is coming to lock them out and they're maybe having to move out to the county and they're maybe having to switch schools? And how are you going to be able to be a good parent when you're not thinking about what are my kids' extracurricular activities that we're going to do? How's their reading class going? You're thinking about where's my baby going to put their head at night? So look, I'm not one of these folks that says all tenants are good and all landlords are bad. This is the real world. I get that. But I do think this is a very, very basic issue that all of us have to deal with. And it's not not as much of a political issue as people want to make it out to be. It's a safety issue, it's a health issue. If you live in substandard housing, you're likely to have significant health effects on that. My kids get to go home every night to their safe, clean bed, and the chances of a rat crawling in my kid's bed is very, very low at night, but I can't say that about my clients.